all, it is getting increasingly difficult for me to find any enjoyment in watching television shows or movies nowadays. These pictures have always had hidden occult symbols and such all throughout the ages, but as of lately, it is getting so completely overbearing and oppressive to where I just can't even watch them anymore. One of these such films is on the CW. It's a TV series called The 100. The plot of this movie is that the world nukes itself into oblivion, and that there is an elite class of men and women that escape to an international space station to avoid the wrath. After 100 years, these people return back to Earth as the radiation has died down, and when they arrive to the planet's surface, they find out that it's still inhabited by humans who survived the nuclear fallout. They are primitive in nature and are called grounders, and in each episode they battle them for territorial gain. Now, since season 1, I knew that this series had lots of occult symbolism in it, and they were also peddling a ton of political ideology. But until season 3, it was tolerable. During this season, it has gotten so absurdly stupid that I felt that I needed to do a video on it. And what really sparked me to make this video is this scene from the final episode of season 3. There is actually a renewed threat of nuclear fallout again, even after they've returned to the planet, because the existing nuclear power plants are melting down and they have to retreat to a...
Sorry to interject, guys. From the ashes we will rise. That seems to be a reference to the nuclear war that they've got intended, and then how the occult, the mystery religious adherents, and then the Masonic fraternity, who are setting the stage up for this. We've seen the psyop unfold. In fact, you've got Russia Today, if you look it up, and score a line underneath it, have just launched a ballistic missile test. Again, it's all controlled opposition that he gave the dialectic playing out. We're just led to believe that there's two sides, when in fact they're both in bed together, taking their instructions from their commander-in-chief, Iblis Lanatullahi Ali. At any rate, this is what that represents, by the way, as far as I'm concerned.
Bunker. You can see this banner in the background of the bunker. It says, "From the ashes we will rise." This is essentially the Freemason Ordo ad Chaos, or Order out of Chaos, with the phoenix rising out of the ashes. But this isn't actually the main purpose of this video. The scene is what sparked me to create the video, but there's actually something much more important in it, and something that did not have as much visibility as it should have had several years ago. Now, in the intro of the 100, you can see the two halves of the 100 colliding together. The two zeros essentially make an infinity symbol, which is prevalent throughout the series, and that is a representation of space and time. This is a really important concept to keep in the back of your mind while we proceed. This intro is essentially showing the collision of space and time. What is interesting about that is essentially what CERN is doing, looking at the dimensions of space and time regarding the collision of particles. So as I said, this was a main theme throughout this series. You can see that there is a chip that people ingest. It has the infinity symbol, or the 8, on it. You can see this lady here taking the chip, and it actually brings you to a place of enlightenment. You can see this astronaut again with the 8, or infinity symbol. Now, I'm going to mirror a video here, and it's by Truth Media Revolution YouTube channel. And I've been watching him for several years, and I gotta tell you, the one thing that sticks out about his channel, and it's always resided in my head over several years, was this video that he put out called When Worlds Collide, the 88 Paradox. In it, he shows how the number 8, or infinity, and especially the number 88, when you have two infinity symbols combined, talks about this collision of worlds, the same thing that I mentioned to you with regards to CERN. The research that he does in this video is fascinating, and it's actually only one of several videos in the series on the 88 Paradox, so I encourage you to go over to his channel and watch those videos. But before I proceed any further with what I'm seeing in today's atmosphere with regards to the 8 or infinity, or more specifically the 88, go ahead and check out this video.
For the past year or so, I've been obsessed with the subject of time. It's fascinating to me, especially after researching Saturn and its association with time. So, when I see a story from earlier this year that was reported on by the corporate media and many other outlets about a British man that was supposedly trapped in a deja vu time loop for 8 years, I saw another piece to this time puzzle. From a Live Science article, quote, "The haunting sensation was stronger than just a feeling of familiarity. The man said he felt that every present moment he was reliving the past," end quote. In researching this topic for about a year or so now, I've discovered the significance of the number 8 and its connection to time. I've covered this briefly before, and others covered it more extensively, like Enter the Stars on YouTube. It's no coincidence that 8 is the number for this deja vu time loop that this man allegedly experienced. It's also no coincidence that an hourglass is shaped like an 8. 8 represents the construct of time. That's why 8 is another variation of the Ouroboros, the snake eating itself, which has everything to do with time. And this suspicious story, as I saw it, brought to mind the film Source Code, which features a plot about a deja vu time loop computer program called the Source Code, where a man's consciousness is sent back in time to relive the final 8 minutes, the last 8 minutes in someone else's body, attempting to create an alternate timeline of reality. So we have a time loop that is set to 8 minutes, the final 8 minutes of someone's existence. When you realize the occult significance of 8 and its relation to time, it all begins to make sense. Even some of the film's promo art featured an 8 as the hourglass, because this is exactly what the number 8 is. So, if 8 represents a reality, a construct of time, what happens when there are two 8s, double 8, 88? Well, we now have the convergence of two realities, two worlds colliding. When worlds collide, therefore 88 represents a dimensional rip in space-time, the opening of a portal. This is of course why the Back to the Future DeLorean must go 88 in order to create the tear in the fabric. This is why in another 80s film called Buckaroo Banzai Across the 8th Dimension features a time travel vehicle called the HB-88. I stumbled upon an episode of the old TV series called Goosebumps, which is based on the extremely popular and controversial Goosebumps book series of children's fiction horror, and these books were shockingly popular, and I of course read them myself. As it turns out, if you do a little research on Goosebumps and its dark history, you'll realize why it was so popular. In the episode called The Cuckoo Clock of Doom, a child travels back in time by turning the head of the cuckoo backwards. In attempting to get back to his original timeline, he accidentally breaks the number 88 off the clock. This year represented the year his younger sister was born, therefore erasing her from existence. Again, you will always see the number 8 playing a critical role in anything relating to time or time travel. This is why in the time travel film Donnie Darko, it takes place in 1988.
Time's going backwards!
Imagination. I think we got a writer on our hands. That'd make a great science fiction story, son. Time going backwards.
Another example is the very esoteric film Cabin in the Woods. We see a scene where someone attempts to escape an enclosed prison matrix reality that has been created for them and have been forced to be trapped in order to be ritually sacrificed to ancient gods called the Ancient Ones. In the scene, he tries to escape by accelerating his bike to reach the other side of the cliff, but dies upon colliding with the outer hexagonal grid shell that keeps them trapped, and sparks fly. This is why the number predominantly featured on his bike is 88. We see the collision of 88.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So you guys who have been following my channel for a while now know that I have the expression of the ancient world is resurfacing. And you can see here the infinity symbol, or the double infinity symbol, the crashing of space and time, essentially represents two worlds colliding, or two dimensions colliding. And two...
Okay, guys, as I see it, what's been referred to here is the other dimension. When I say the other dimension, I mean the dimension of jinn kind, and tearing that fabric. Now, we've discussed that at length on some other vlogs on the channel quite a while back with CERN, and how we believe that through quantum computing, D-Wave and CERN and other projects that are similar across the globe, they're trying to tear the fabric of this veil, the parda that keeps that the third dimensional entities, beings, away from us. Now, I believe that they're looking to tear that fabric as we speak, and they've been doing that and working very, very, very aggressively towards that aim. And my understanding is when Dajjal Lanatullahi comes, the Antichrist, he'll be accompanied by other beings. Now, we've been told that there will be shayateen, but my position is that they will cloak themselves and present themselves as sentient extraterrestrial alien beings, right? And this is how even Dajjal, the Antichrist, will be presented to the world for having returned back to Earth as a spiritual master, and being the same Jesus who had visited Earth and then left, only to return again, when in fact it's clear, abundantly clear, that this individual will be the Antichrist, Ad-Dajjal, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Thessalonians 2, and it...
Another interesting part is that we've got this other system, this binary star system that's merged with our solar system, and it's got other celestial bodies in it, and there's so much rhetoric around the TRAPPIST-1 system, it having other celestial bodies which could harbour life within the Goldilocks zone, and this whole psyop and rhetoric that's been kind of pushed onto the masses so that they would segue quite comfortably into the reality of these extraterrestrial beings existing. And like I said, during the exit of the system, from my understanding and research, and the conclusion I've come to is that they're going to be staging this extraterrestrial contact. Again, you've only got to score a line underneath what they discovered yesterday, at least they claim they have, is on Mars a UFO. It's an Daily Star, a very, very, very high resolution image of something that eerily looks like a spacecraft, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned, it's a psyop and it's not real, but they want people to believe that it is, so that they would buy into this extraterrestrial nonsense.
Talks about the man of lawlessness being revealed. Specifically, verse 7, it says, "The mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains it will do so until he is out of the way, and then the lawless one will be revealed." And this is exactly what we're seeing, slowly and surely. Actually, it's not slow anymore, it's actually happening at quite a rapid pace. We're just seeing more and more occult symbology, and it doesn't even need to be occult or hidden anymore. It's actually quite blatant in our face. here's some other examples of the 88 and how it's resurfacing in today's world. The HH, which was typically known as Hail Hitler, has now been peddled as a Happy Hippie parade. This has been spearheaded by Miley Cyrus. But again, the HH, or alphanumerically 88. Another one here is the quote-unquote Christian band False Prophets, or 21 Prophets, should I say. You can see them here with the double H symbol, and you can see all their fans making the H symbol with their hands. And interestingly enough, I looked at the fans of 21 Prophets, and no one knows what the H hand symbol means. They just follow blindly with their idols. You can also see 21 Prophets here has lots of occult art, such as this one with one of the band members looking up to Saturn. What I also thought was interesting was the One World Trade Center had a tribute in light, and the two pillars of light that were blasted into the sky were comprised of 88 spotlights. And we all know the 9/11 tragedy was a false flag used in ritualistic sacrifice. Another recent yet prevalent example of the HH or 88 symbology is in this article. The store HH Gregg is closing, 88 stores in 2017. This was dated March 2nd. And if you didn't already know, the retail industry has closed a record 8,640 stores in 2017. Guys, the stock market and this whole so-called recovery to the economy is a 100% complete falsehood. They are simply waiting on the right timing to pull the plug so this whole system unravels and the two worlds definitively collide. I just want to tie this back to a lot of my ancient studies. I've done a lot of videos on the Babylonian sun wheel, and also how many spokes does the Babylonian sun wheel have? It has 8 spokes. Interestingly, CERN also has an octagonal shape. And last but not least, since my channel is focused heavily on Rome and the Vatican, I take you to St. Peter's Basilica Square, where in the middle there is an obelisk which acts as an Egyptian sundial, and surrounded by it, again, are 8 spokes, just like the Babylonian sun wheel. Now guys, I hope that this study has enlightened you in terms of the number 8, or the infinity symbol, the 88, the collision of space and time, and the agenda that they are setting forth in terms of these collisions of worlds, and that it's happening right now.